Hi there, everybody. I just wanted to share an offering. Um, so there's a few things. I've got a couple of stories as well as something I've made and something I want to share with you so that you can make things too. So when I was little, my parents weren't super creative, so there wasn't a whole lot of art supplies at home. And when I went to my first like kindergarten moments, um, I was introduced to plasticine, and it was brand new in the package, I remember, and you had to warm it up with your fingers. And it is still a memory in my mind, those bright colors and the ability to mold things. So it made me super, super excited when I was little. And anytime I get to mold things, it makes me happy. So when I started this program, I didn't realize that there was silly putty sent out in little cubes and whatever. And as I listened in the first session, I realized I was missing something. So I decided for the next session I would make myself some play clay. So a play clay recipe that I discovered when I was probably in junior high was actually on the back of the cornstarch container. So this is actually my reused cornstarch bottle that I've put my clay in to keep it moist. So I'll give you the recipe for this, but it's super soft. It's gotten a little cracky because it needs a bit more moisture, but I've actually made this quite often. And the last time I made this before this time was 2 years ago for Christmas. I made this clay and I rolled it out super thin, and I used snowflake cookie cutters, and I cut out and let them dry and put a hole so that they could be hung on a Christmas tree. And then I painted them with acrylic paint from the dollar store. And then I used Zentangle patterns. So just patterns, you can look up Zentangle. I know Tanya's facilitated some Zentangle stuff, but you're basically just using pens to draw lines on it to sort of highlight your snowflake. But I mean, you could just paint them as well. That's no biggie. I also used the same snowflake cookie cutter, and the ridgy outer edges of the snowflake made little sort of tire shapes. So for my motorcycle kids, I actually made them little motorcycle tires to hang on the Christmas tree, and then I kind of wrote their names in with like a silver gel pen. So this is super easy, and you can mold it into little pinch pots too, or make little mushrooms. This looks like a mushroom cap to me, but a pinch pot is basically you just keep pinching all the way around. So if you haven't ever made a pinch pot, that would be how you would make it. So the recipe for this clay is fun to make too. So you mix 1 cup of cornstarch with 1 cup of baking soda, and then you add half a cup or so of water. Now you may need a little bit more or less. Some other recipes I've seen will add oil in as well, but I usually add that at the end. And trying to think, this smells like lemongrass because I like to, when I'm kneading it at the end, I add essential oils. So that gives a certain olfactory. If you like lavender and you find it calming, you can put that in. If you want to be kind of woken up by your putty, you can put some peppermint oil. I put lemongrass, and a lot of the essential oils help to preserve it so it doesn't go moldy, because that can happen to this clay. The salt clays don't go bad as easily as the ones without salt. So basically what you do is you mix these things in a pot. So you're baking soda, cornstarch, and water. You mix it in a pot until it's sort of a slurry, and then you put it over a low heat to medium heat. And when you do that, you will stir it, and it'll start to thicken just like a gravy would with cornstarch in it. But it's going to thicken up into the dough sort of texture. So it's going to become kind of mashed potato-y, and it'll peel up away from the pot. And then once it's so thick you can't handle it anymore, you dump it onto a board and let it cool enough so then you can handle it, and then you massage it till it gets to be this kind of Play-Doh clay consistency. So it's safe for kids to play with, but it does dry. So that's the trick, is that if you're keeping your clay for any length of time, I like to roll them in little balls, chuck them in here, seal them up nice and tight, and then you're not going to have it go off on you. Now, I don't have any of the rolled out things, but I had cube envy. So before I got my little wooden cube, I made myself a little clay cube, and it's cracked a little bit. Don't know if you can see, there's cracks. So the trick with this clay, if you do it very flat, it will dry beautifully without cracks. But if you have too much thickness, it won't. When you paint it, you can fill in those cracks. So I made 2 pinch pots as well. So one little pinch pot this way and one little pinch pot that way. And then I let them dry. And then I painted the inside to kind of seal it, because this clay will also absorb moisture from the air. So if it gets wet, it'll get puffy and rehydrate itself, which is not what you want. So I don't know if you can hear, but I put some beads inside, and then I took a little snake of clay and I wet my fingers really well, and I ran a snake around the outer edge and then very carefully blended it so that, if you can see, the edge has been completely sealed. It kind of looks like a clam, so I might have to paint it into a clam, although it's feeling like it might need Australian Aborigine dot paintings on it too. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. So I used gesso, which is a nice like a sealant on the inside, and then I used some acrylic as well to seal it so that it's somewhat waterproof and a little bit resilient, so it can handle the hammering. I didn't like the sound of rice, and I was going to use peppercorns, but they were too quiet too. So I actually had a bracelet like this that broke, and I put a few of these little white sodalite beads in it. So there's sodalite inside. And then when you shake it, it makes that lovely shaky noise. So I'm still not sure how I'm going to paint it. I've started with the first coat of gesso, and I'll probably acrylic it, and then maybe do some kind of a design on it. I might make it look like a clam and just do a bunch of grays and browns and highlight the edge where the clam would open. He might need little eyes as well. I don't know. I'll see. Or I may paint it all black and then do some kind of Aborigine dot patterns. I have a friend online who does a lot of that work with sticks, and he'll do pairs and calls them twin sticks that look really cool too. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's offered me the opportunity to do some crafting with something that's super inexpensive to make, and I thought I would share with you all. So thank you for listening, and I hope you get to use this. And if you do, then, you know, send me a picture of what you've made, or you can comment, because I'm popping this up on YouTube to make it easier to access. All right, folks, have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.